Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, which you should definitely all join, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support the channel, there's a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we're currently joined by a whole bunch of people on both Discord and Google Plus Hangouts on air, so I'm going to raise the mic on them while I set up for the next live show.
Boo! No. Yay.
Here we are.
Yes, we are.
Listen, the point is that my two examples show the way to determine truth by synthetic ways without empirical method. And
Yeah,
I've determined
that's
two
cool.
truths.
That's cool.
And that's all
I don't think
saying.
anyone.
So please
I don't
react
think
to those
anyone's
points.
arguing that that's a way of doing it, but to call that the scientific method is where the problem is.
Yeah.
I've never said that neither. I've talked about different paths, and actually, if you can cross your path and manage to confirm one thing with analytical and the other one with synthetic, you're on the very good way to discover the truth.
Yeah, but that's
On the
still
way.
gonna give you a good lead. But
On the
actually,
way.
it still requires that part, the confirmation. And
On the way
the scientific
is-
method is needed for that. I'm done now. You can talk now.
On the way. Well, I'm sorry, Erwin. I thought I was going back and forth with him. But thank you. On the way is not what the scientific method is interested. The scientific method wants the cause, not on the way. That's why it's narrow.
Listen, the scientific
that's
method is
why
made
it's a separate.
of all your ability to think put together. And it includes
no,
an empirical
that's the-
evidence as much as it can include inference.
You're wrong.
It can include black box texting. It can include
Yep.
Statistical power.
You're
It can
wrong. You
include
keep on droning
calculations as
on.
well.
You're wrong.
And all
Hang
that.
on.
On and on,
If-
nothing.
if-
I'm
if the
giving
caller-
you elements
If the
to
caller
which
is
you don't
saying,
react and you keep repeating the same thing.
I'll tell you what.
Okay,
You keep on monologuing over top of people. I'm going to kick your ass out. I'm going to tell you that now.
let me
React to what I said instead of repeating over the same
God.
thing.
Okay, the caller, I don't know how to address you, but what you're talking about
Ben,
is the hypothesis point. It's okay to presuppose and try to find the actual cause. That's what you're talking about. But the scientific method will only give you the cause. There's no more guessing after that. You can guess all you want before until you get all the data.
To determine the
But
truth, you've got many paths,
scientific
and the
method-
more
I'm
paths
not
lead
done
you to
talking.
the
Oh, let
same
him
conclusion,
finish.
the better it is.
For
I
fuck's sake,
wasn't-
can nobody let anyone else finish here? For
I wasn't
fuck's
done
sake.
talking. I was, again, this is just going to go in circles, but I could relate it to a situation where I was speeding through the streets of New York, breaking every single law there was, running red lights and everything else. Now, someone could watch that and say, "Oh, that guy's on drugs," or "That guy is, drunk," or "That guy's breaking laws." Well, I had a guy in the back of my truck who was stabbed, and I had his girlfriend tell me how to get to the emergency care. How would you know my motive? So we got the scientific method to find the actual cause of something that gets rid of bias, guesswork. This is what John is talking about. You're talking about something else. You're talking about axiomatic stuff. It's obvious why that's doing
Watch
that.
your tone, mate.
Water's
The scientific
Water's
method
wet.
gets
Okay,
rid
it's
of
obvious. I don't need-
presupposition.
Keep
right,
talking, but
they're
watch
two
your tone.
different methods for two different results. John's is empirical. That's all. It's
You
narrow
are
for that
yelling
reason.
again. You are yelling again, mate.
No, he's not.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not
Keep talking.
yelling.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
No, I'm showing you respect, and if you sense my voice is raising, it's because I'm passionate about the subject as well. Did I
Jesus
cuss?
Christ, not
Did
even
I
my
yell
dad
at
talked
you?
to me like that. Okay, whatever. Go ahead, but try to tone it down. I'm willing to listen, but if you hijack my reptilian brain, I will not listen. I will not be listening. That's the problem.
I'll let the
I'm gonna
audience
hijack your
decide.
friggin'
You need
reptilian
to
brain.
seriously calm down, dude. Like,
By
he is
pissing me
not
off, man.
agitated at all.
That's
You
all.
seem to be very agitated. Like, take a breath or something.
All right, I'm
I'm
done
very
with the
cool.
call.
I'm trying to
I
be
think
cool.
the audience could decide what I was trying to say. Thank you.
So you finished.
Again, nobody is telling you to not go and build models to your heart's content. I don't really understand what the gripe
No,
here.
I was just trying to enlighten you guys because I see you are in a one-way street that will lead yourself and everybody else into the impossibility of building a model because I got more and more parrots online repeating your stuff blindly. Like I said before, it's like somebody finds a box of antibiotics and he realizes it works on more than one disease, and then he starts giving it to everybody, and he
Here we go
realizes
with the
that, and
monologue.
everybody comes to him and he becomes renowned as a doctor, but all he does is giving antibiotics to everybody.
Yeah, that's
So
nice.
there
I
is-
use colloidal silver and other stuff. So this is useless.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're blaming a recipe for the burnt cake. You know,
But let me finish.
people's
Please, let me
responsibility
finish.
is to do their own due diligence and have the background with the material that's put on this channel. That's not my fault. You understand that, right?
Okay, listen, let me finish. Okay, fair enough. Let me finish. So you have in a decision-making process, you've got several parameters, and the fact that they have been enclosing us in this burden of proof through empirical means, where they have all the means in the world to make every evidence disappear. That's why you've got so much
What-
cognitive
What are
dissonance.
you
Is
talking
because
about?
the
Oh yeah, it
burden
makes
of
a good
proof
point
has
actually.
been kept to this simple empirical level, which you
There's
call the
no
scientific
point. You
method.
just
But it
drone and
doesn't mean
monologue.
it doesn't
We
mean.
were just
Can I
talking about a
finish?
subject
No, no, no,
that you
no.
were
He's
saying about
making this
people.
is a
Oh
sub
my
point.
Can I
God.
finish? I'm
Let you fit.
talking
No, I'm
about the
not.
same
I've
subject.
had enough of your ass.
Are you guys?
I'm
Are you
done
guys?
with it.
Let him make his story. This is not about the.
I'm done with it. I'm done with going from subject to subject. He just bounces from subject to subject. There's no coherency.
No, there was. I was actually
No, there
listening to
wasn't.
it. Yeah, there was, John. He was.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum, which you should definitely join. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join this discussion right here, right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Chocolate Sane, Arwin and Tenth Man in the Google Hangouts. How you doing?
Very well.
Good morning.
Hey, Arwin.
Yeah.
Any signs of Earth curvature?
Are we getting straight into it? We've also got people on Discord, but 10th Man's super keen. So hello everyone in Discord, hope you're all doing well.
Say it again. Any signs of Earth curvature?
No signs, no signs.
Good afternoon, Nathan. How are you all doing?
We're all good. Thank you for asking.
Nah, no curvature.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope. No evidence.
Discord panel? Anything? Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity? Moving on.
Any evidence of a
Drink,
self-perpetuating
drink,
molten iron
open
core at
up
the
on
center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Come on, I'm holding out hope every day for this particular one. There's got to be someone in the Discord server that's got evidence of a molten iron core, right? Lay it on me.
But even if he had evidence of an iron core, if it's molten, it's past the Curie point, and there is no magnetism anyway. So I don't even know what we're talking about, really.
Right on.
Yep. I agree with that.
Right, the R value. Any evidence of that?
Arr.
Is there any value to R? Or is
If
it
you
just
win-
another debt scam?
If you win, your R win.
No, there's
Terrible.
only one R win. Sorry.
Stick to the Musa references, 10th man. they work every time. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Oh, absolutely no.
Okay, well, if
Not
you're watching-
according to QuickFit.
I'm
According
seeing
to
really
QuickFit.
awesome CGI here in my recommended YouTube list.
Is that a Brit that said that? Not according to QuickFit.
Oh, really? Must be temperature then.
I think that's a reference to tyres and gas pressure without the container, i.e. asking QuickFit to put gas pressure around the rim of a wheel without the expense of a tyre.
But you need to film that because I want to see the face of those guys when you ask.
Oh wow.
There's got to be an opportunity out there for some up-and-coming flat Earth YouTuber to walk into tyre sales shop of unknown, unnamed, whatever, and say, I really want some of your gas pressure. I just don't want your expensive tyre. How about chucking it round the rim and just making it stay there? It's possible, for sure. And when they're saying no, just glance up at the sky.
Yeah, that's
Well, there's so many absurd things in
Just gonna
that are
look at you
real
like you're
that
crazy.
indeed
that's
Hey,
like
they're a laughing stock. That's for real.
Hold on, just do a
Nate,
quick, hold on, quick sound check. Hey, non.
Hey,
Hey.
good morning
It is.
Probably
It
not.
certainly is.
or night.
I was saying.
Time zones.
I've got one last thing. So the last housekeeping questions in regards to axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, and we will be covering, if you're watching live, Bullbusters, which has been on yesterday. If you're watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980, but yeah, if you are watching live tomorrow, Saturday, Bullbusters will be covering one of the most amazing flat Earth proofs you've ever seen, and I'm absolutely certain, beyond doubt, that Ranty's done the most amazing presentation. And yeah, there's no pressure on him at all to make sure he does come up with that. So yeah, that'll be on there, along with us dropping anchor on the Coriolis effect, which is definitely a subject of the moment. Thank God it's no longer gravity. Until gravity comes up again. Or goes down, depending on which you want to weigh. Boom, boom.
Boom! Fall down, go boom, boom.
That's it. Exactly. But I'm glad we're on to Coriolis, because I don't know, I like Coriolis in the respect that it's nice and simple. I hate the fact that it's so, there's layer upon layer upon layer of heliocentric bullshit layered on top of that particular subject, because it's necessitated in their model but doesn't happen. So it's got to be layered up with bullshit. There is Coriolis. Coriolis is real. That's a real effect. You can observe it on a roundabout by throwing a ball and watching how it appears to curve because you're carrying on spinning and it's not. That's nice and simple. That's Coriolis effect. Earth needs that to occur because Earth's spinning. Well, it doesn't. because if it did, your plane travel would be a lot shorter because the Earth would turn underneath. Your drone would suddenly disappear from view because the Earth turned underneath. You'd only need hover in a helicopter and the continent would come to you. None of that stuff happens, even though they claim it does with bullets and footballs. You know, it's a claim of a rotating Earth that doesn't stack up. We don't have an Earth-based Coriolis effect, and we'll definitely be covering that in great detail. As I say, tomorrow, if you're watching live, or yesterday, check out Nathan Oakley's Flat Earth Thoughts playlist for the Ballbusters most recent, or Science versus Scientism, Pseudoscience, forget which one, playlists for the Ballbusters. But yeah, that'll be yesterday if you're watching on Sunday, or tomorrow if you're watching live.
That'll be yesterday.
Yeah, that argument, the Coriolis and the gas pressure without a container are my favorite too, because using their own words, they die by their own sword.
With Coriolis is really easy to understand, but it's also really easy to confuse over if you're gonna try to prove a Coriolis effect with something that isn't actually there somehow. That's what they constantly do. So they then muck up the simplicity of the Coriolis effect to just
Well, who
make
you
it
talking
appear
to?
like it's there and not there at the same time.
Who are you
That's
talking
really
to?
what's happening.
I'm talking to the audience.
No. That's not what I meant. I meant when you talk to an average person, they are not these trolls who have the layers and layers of ridiculous comebacks. The average person says, yeah, there's Coriolis. All right, what's Coriolis? And then because they're not a troll, it's easy to convert them, or it's easy to get them to shut up because they realize they don't know what they're talking about. It's only the trolls that Arwen is referencing that have the layers of BS.
I think if you said
No,
most
not
people,
necessarily. I disagree.
if you ask
Because
most people,
the more
sorry,
it-
Arwen.
Oh.
No, you go. My bad.
Okay, right. So I kind of disagree, because even the more innocent ballers that get confronted with the confusion about the Coriolis, they may simply go divided and start to follow their own train of thought from their own personal perspective. So there's no guarantee at all.
That's why I like the. That's why I
They
like the
just
smart.
tend to get confused about it and mixed up. And then it's all about that mixing up and not getting to any actual result.
Let me know when you're done.
I'm done now.
Okay, sorry.
Next
to
time,
interrupt.
ask before.
Okay, I will ask you before I interrupt you if I'm interrupting you. Thank you. That's why the smartphone is fantastic, because I'll just hand it to him with the dictionary. I say, type in Coriolis.
But actually, guys, if you look carefully, in fact, rotation contradicts the gradient, because the gradient only happens, at least it's only observed in a system at rest. So if there is a rotation, the system wouldn't be at rest. So that's more ammunition for you.
That's good point.
Pass.
Good point.
My earlier point,
Well,
Nathan, was about your tire pressure going to the garage and asking someone to just give you the free gas, but not the expensive tire. Rory did that. The guy, my perspective channel, he went to camera. I think he said he did it, or he made it sound like you
No,
should
we
do it.
were
I can't-
joking about the whole lot. We were joking about it.
Well, he was saying that imagine going into a camera store and asking for a zoom lens that has zoom of 248,000 miles. What would the skilled camera salesperson say to you if you asked for a zoom that could go out and get something 248,000 miles and bring it?
Well, I'll
they
play
will
ball.
call security on you.
Well, no. I'll play out that scenario. So let's pretend we're not flat earthers for a moment, right? And that scenario play out with the person, the camera technician. I actually worked in a camera shop, explaining that that's not possible and all the reasons why. But then cocky guy who's the customer looks up at the sky and says, "Oh, what about the stars?" Now, both parties in that scenario would go, "Oh, you with your clever dickery," right? Would be the salesman, the camera guy selling the camera's response. Because instinctively, they're both brainwashed with the same nonsense. So even though there's a contradiction with the very words that's come out of the salesperson's mouth in regards to why that wouldn't work, he would relinquish it all in a heartbeat the moment the guy looks up at the sky and says, what about the stars? Because he's brainwashed too.
Who said about the star?
I assume that was where you were going with the colossal distances, were you not?
Well, my point in listening to Rory put it out the way he did was, so the objects must be closer if I'm able to get it with my 80 millimeter zoom.
I see.
What really puzzles me is the difference between the stars from the vault, which go around, and the wandering stars. Why that difference?
Stars that do what? I didn't quite catch that.
The difference between the wandering stars and the stars in the vault. Why is there a difference between their movement and the movement of the ones in the vault? That's something very puzzling, and I think if we crack that, we may do a couple of steps.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I feel like certain things are. I feel like certain things are just unknowable from our perspective.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't
think
really
that
see
would
the big
be-
deal.
Well, if you're waiting for an empirical evidence, yeah, but you can try to imagine.
Does everyone, just for the audience benefit, just in case people don't understand what retrograde motion is, so you look at a light in the sky and track its position relative to the rest of the stars. You come back the following night and it's slightly further back in its positioning versus the rest of the movement of the stars. Now, there's a deduction by the heliocentric believers that means it's circling the other way in a heliocentric model. Well, in reality, you're just observing something slightly further back in its pattern the following time you look at it. But, you know, that's described as... I can never remember the one before heliocentric description of this. Retrograde motion is what it's currently called.
Ptolemaic.
Say again?
Ptolemaic.
No, the description
It's Ptolemy.
Yeah, but what did he describe retrograde as? There's a different word.
There were little loops. If you look at the Ptolemaic heliocentric model.
Say again?
One of them.
Who said it?
If you have,
Periphelium or something like that.
No. I've forgotten the word. I'm sure someone from chat will say it. What's the other word for
I know
retrograde motion?
In another language. I don't know in English.
No, just in a different cosmology. Come on, chat. You're failing me completely. Right the hand. Help me out. We'll get there. I'm sure someone will mention it in the chat. But nonetheless, that's what
Does it have any relations to a circuit and running its course?
I don't know, but if you look at the model that we have currently, they gave us the heliocentric model and the ellipsoids. It doesn't look anything. It does not look what's the word? Elegant. If you look at the Ptolemaic model, it just looks perfectly elegant with these little loop-de-loop circles. I don't know which one's correct, but there's no way to know exactly which one is correct because both models predict the paths just fine, and one of them looks prettier. So I mean, take that.
Models are reification fallacies. They don't predict anything.
That's why I laughed. I said models. Haha. That's why I gave a little smirk.
All right.
Well, if we see them coming from the east going to the west and they change positions over a year's time and then they get back to their original position, they're running a circuit. And so one day or week will be different than the week before because they're running that circuit, right? Alrighty then.
Hmm?
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth.
But you should be happy. I didn't have a lisp.
Right, are you there, QE?
Yes.
I'm frantically Googling and I can't bloody find it.
What you looking for?
The word that they used to use before it was called retrograde.
The word they used before retrograde. I have no idea.
To describe retrograde motion of planets.
I have no idea.
God damn. It's gonna bug the hell out of me.
The ecliptic?
No, don't just guess. Right, you either know what retrograde used to be called or you don't.
Antrograde.
Don't guess. I can see the
No,
chat
I
guessing.
didn't.
Right, the hand
I
in the
just-
chat says prograde, maybe?
And I
No,
just
that's
looked it
the
up.
opposite of retrograde.
If you Google retrograde versus and hit enter, it's the first one that comes up.
What's it called?
Antero grade. Antrograde.
No. I'm not. No.
I never heard that before in my life.
Don't let this kill a conversation while I just satisfy my own frustration.
Well, yeah, way to kill a conversation. Jeez.
Yeah, my bad.
It's something.
How about
It must be
How
something.
about moving
common.
backwards?
But it's not. But it's not moving backwards. Even in the heliocentric model, it's not moving backwards. It's just the way that. Sorry, go on.
It's apparent in the heliocentric reification fallacy. It's only apparent.
Exactly. It's an apparent. I have to say it. An apparent backward movement.
Thank you very much.
It's just
Nathan,
look, it's not moving
Nathan.
backwards. Go on. Hello.
All I can think of is perihelion. That's all you say in English. Perihelion.
That could be the right
But that's-
word. It could be.
That's around the sun, basically. Peri, it's like periphery, and helion, like Helios, the sun. Perihelion.
No, that's when that's the orbit. That's the when something
That's
orbits
the orbit, yeah.
in an ellipsoid. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the thing that is very funny is if you look at the perihelion, if you look at the
Epicycles?
that it
Is that what it's
makes
called?
when you look at-
Epicycles?
Oh, epicycles from
Booyah!
Ptolemy, right?
It just came to me.
epicycles.
I'm a lying sod. I totally Googled it. Got there in the end.
Booyah.
Yeah, epicycles. There we go. In the geocentric model.
I said that. I said you're pedaling backward on the cycle.
Yeah. My fingers were faster, therefore I'm smarter because I'm quicker at googling. No, I did know it. It wasn't on the tip of my tongue. I'd be lying if it was, but I knew what I was talking about. What I was referring to. In other words, there's different ways of describing that apparent backwards motion that you see in the sky if you're tracking the stars night after night. But the descriptions are just that, right? A description of what I've very badly described to a layman of what you would actually observe in the sky. But if you've got a model in place with a load of presuppositions attached and it doesn't quite work, you've got to come up with an explanation to make it work. Well, that explanation's not proving any causality for what is actually causing that to happen. There's just a little bit of an explanation, possibly some mathematics that goes along with an observation of a cycle. That's it. Meaningless.
But in fact, what actually annoys me is that you compare my method to the one of Einstein. But Einstein was a brain fart. It was from inception a brain fart. My method is absolutely different. I try to correlate existing effects and existing observations of experiments with. So
that's very obvious.
The guy
You're
did
trying to describe a more personal code of
actual thought.
conduct, and it's sensible. Sorry.
Yes.
So, on a more superficial note, the epicycles from Ptolemy, right? What cracks me up, and you know somebody's a pretender clown, and a lot of people do it. They pronounce the P and say Ptolemaic, like pneumonia. You don't pronounce the P, clowns. It's Ptolemaic. T, the P's silent. Okay? But you just keep on doing it. Cracks me up.
In French, you would say Ptolemy. In French, you would say the P. Like you say a pneu from pneumatic, from tire. It depends from the language.
Hey, how do you say guillotine in French? Is it with the L or with no L?
Heating, as in what? Warming up.
The one that cuts your head.
Guillotine, like chopping your head off.
I've heard it with L and without the L. Which one is proper in French?
I don't understand the question. Say again. I don't understand the English word, actually.
Guillotine. The word is
guillotine. You guys,
My God, if
thing they
everybody
used
speaks
to
at the
cut-
same time, it's even worse.
Guillotine.
Right. While everyone's
Like guillotine. Guillotine. GUI double L. 2 L's.
shout out to Truth in Your Face. Says it's about 42 degrees Celsius. Holy Jesus, in my house. So my ears are beginning to pop. I can say what's coming. So if I can't write anything on topic because I can't hear anything, lol. Man, that sounds horrible. But thank you for the super chat. Truth in my face. If you're in the chat live now, go and subscribe to Truth in My Face. He's a videographer, so he's got content. Go and subscribe to him. Right click on his whatever that blue face is and check out his channel. He's got good videos in there. He's very complimentary to me. That's not the reason why I'm shouting him out, but nonetheless, he's a good videographer. Things that make you go right? Yeah, so check him out. What was I going to say? It's a really nice word. Epistolic motion. Isn't that a nice word?
Yeah, it's smooth.
Smooth. Epistolic motion. That just got loads more sex appeal to it than retrograde.
Or hypostatization.
More medical.
Hypostatization. Yeah, I bit my tongue earlier. I'm definitely not going to get that word correct.
And actually, Tesla said they turn reality into words and then they start talking about words. That's exactly that.
Does that word have any meaning for you, Ben? As we discussed it earlier, I am kind of poking you a little bit, but hypothesization with a lisp. Does that word mean anything?
Hypothesization. Jesus.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Trust me, it's difficult. Especially for me. I've been spending my whole life speaking.
Not the pronunciation.
French speaker.
Not the pronunciation. The meaning of the word.
Hypothesization, and I cannot say it.
Hypothesization is look.
Hypothesization.
Hypothesization. It's not that difficult.
It is when you bit your tongue.
Hypothesization.
Anyway, right. So hypothesization.
I like how we're having a science vocabulary.
Everyone say it one more time.
Right, I'm going to mute everybody. We can all shut up. Right, it's the fallacy of misplaced concreteness, otherwise known as reification.
How
Glad that
ironic.
cycle ended.
How ironic. I didn't bring that up for any other reason. No agenda here.
Yeah, you want to hear me with a slight lisp say a word I can't normally say that well anyway, right?
It kills two birds with one stone.
Yeah, I don't mind. I'll say it as many times. I don't mind being the butt of this joke. The point is the same. We're talking about reification, and that's what the heliocentric model is. A hypothesization.
We can move on to ontological afterwards.
Oh, God, here we go. I could probably say that with the lisp. Ontological. There you go.
But let's not forget epistemologic. Epistemologic is another good one, for it matters.
Yeah, that's not using that part of my mouth. I'm all good with this. I think I'll be okay.
Epistemologic? Say
Epistemological? What's so difficult about that?
Epistemological.
How do you say?
Yeah.
Epistemological.
Look, this is going to get extremely
because
dull
that's
for
what
the
you need
audience.
to insert your own
I started
scientific
something that's
method
not gonna end.
in order to see a bit better around everything. I mean, honestly, I would definitely advise everybody there on this panel to read Karl Popper.
All right.
Karl Popper is an epistemologist.
Oh, okay.
And he's fantastic. He's got really an approach to science. And if you really want to kick ass when you have a conversation about science, that's the guy to go through first.
And everyone
the
that
go-to guy.
parrots
It's
Karl
not about
Popper,
the
I
scientific
kick
method,
their
right?
ass.
Say again?
I love it when people parrot Karl Popper. One, they don't know what
No,
they're
but
talking about,
Pop,
most people.
honestly, he's the one that really got the scientific method framed into a more meaty background than what you
Okay,
guys
give
are
us some
offering
cowbell.
on
What'd
a
he
daily
do?
basis.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So what has he done then? Put more meat on the bones of a very simplistic method. Tell me more.
Yeah, well, very, very mechanical. You know, you need to give it some curves. You know?
What'd he do? Come on, give us some
Curves.
cowbell. You brought him up.
Cowbells are curved, so
Bells.
I got a fever, and the only cure is cowbell. Give us some cowbell, man. Karl Popper, go.
Cowbell. What do you mean, cowbell?
So everyone calm down. So what you're saying is, look, man, Karl Popper's the man when it comes to science. He's expanded on science, so he's the guy
On
to go
epistemology, specifically.
to. You said science.
Yeah, but epistemology is the philosophy underlying science.
Science is just a method.
It's actually underlying knowledge and how knowledge gets passed around in a society, not necessarily.
Well, that's what
science.
science is.
but that kind of sounds like
No-
philosophy about science.
Gnoseology is the art of knowing. That's science. That's where it comes
So
from.
that's the
Not knowing.
philosophy about science.
Philosophy,
Correct.
yes, it's the art of thinking right, and the specific branch of philosophy that deals with science, it's epistemology.
We're still
Okay,
waiting for
so
the
correct.
cowbell.
It's philosophy about the scientific method, so it's not actually about the scientific method.
No. It's not. It has nothing to do with the scientific method. It has to do
Obviously.
with how knowledge gets passed around in a society. Where
No. Karl Popper
how do
and
people?
epistemology is the underlying thinking around science, the scientific method, and everything. It's absolutely about the scientific method. Absolutely, it is. That's why you guys should look into it,
Still waiting
because
for
it
the
gives different
cowbell.
perspectives.
Again,
Sorry?
I say again, I'm still waiting, and so is the audience, for the cowbell for Karl Popper. Are we going to get to it, sir, or are you going to dance around some more?
So shout out before you do to Colin Turner, who says epistemology is about how we know what we know. Thank you very much for the super chat, Colin Turner.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the scientific method itself. Here's the definition: the theory of knowledge, especially with regards to its method.
Right.
So you could
How we
use
know
the
what we know. The
scientific
person who
method,
said
but you
that.
could use another method. Like certain people.
Guys, don't judge before you know what I'm talking about. Go and have a look at Karl Popper, and then have a talk about it. But don't
Why?
don't
You
judge
brought it up.
don't try to wing it. That's not something you can wing.
You told, my God, he charges us
No,
with
listen.
winging it. He brings it
Hey,
up,
I'm not.
right?
I'm not winging it. I'm talking. The
he's
way
not
I learned
talking to you.
about really a lot of this is from Rodrigo Nunez, which is a PhD anthropologist who kind of became a flat earther. And I don't know if you guys seen his video, but you know he tried to understand the epistemological angle of the flat Earth, basically saying how does the knowledge of flat Earth gets passed around in a society. It's an anthropological field of study about
sounds
how
interesting.
knowledge gets passed around in a clan or in a group of people.
Who is that?
Has nothing to
And
do
that
with the
would be
scientific
epistemology
method
in
per
your
se.
view.
Hold on, Ben.
Psychology,
Hold on, Ben.
informational study. It's really
Owen, hold on. What was that, guys? That did sound interesting, despite his pseudoscience background. What was that guy's name?
He's actually really great. His name is Rodrigo Nunez.
Yeah, I've heard that name before.
He's a
Rodrigo
What's
Nunez. Okay, yeah, no, I've heard the name before. It's come up a couple of times, but I didn't know that the guy was a.
I'll paste his link, his YouTube link on Master B, and you guys check him out. He's one of my favorite flat earthers to listen to because
Is he
came from not being
a former paleontologist? Did you say?
He's a PhD anthropologist.
Anthropologist.
Yeah, and he gave us and he gave a speech in Sweden to the Society of Anthropologists about flat Earth, and he originally came in trying to figure out what's going on, why do people believe this shit, and he came in with, with no judgment, because it's one of the ethics of anthropologists is to not to judge how other people think, and he took that oath very seriously. So as he came in, he basically talked to all the major flat earthers and did videos with them. And then eventually, I think he's now a flat earther, which is my favorite part of it. I'll paste his link on Master B.
I mean, I'll definitely check him out. Just one question, knowing him or having watched him, does he assert science with his pseudoscience?
I don't know. He does no. It's not about science or pseudoscience. He just basically, at this point, he's now a flat earther. So he breaks down NASA videos. But if you want to watch the very first video which is the gist of the speech he gave to the Society of Anthropologists in Sweden, there is nothing about like trying to prove anything with scientific method. He's basically just genuinely explaining the griefs that flat earthers have with the current model. And he's just explaining, he's like, this is why they believe what they believe. And then by they, I mean I. It's clear that now he's a flat earther.
No, I understand. It's just with somebody with that type of background, there's always the concern that when let's remove me from it. When someone like Quantum Eraser and he cross paths, and he's from the social sciences, that obviously is a bit concerning. When it's on the list, right? It's a pseudoscience, like it or not. But it's not that I want to decry any of these people's work. It's only when they start asserting science. And if you, by the way you've contextualized it, you make it clear that it's not ever framed in that way. So therefore, his accreditation and his discoveries through investigation are presumably just as credible as anybody else's. They're not coming along with an assertion that this is science, right? I know how the people of the world behave in this given circumstance, science. And if he's not doing that, then no qualm, no foul, right?
No, he's not doing any of that. I mean, you watch it yourself, and then maybe in a couple of days, see what you see. But from my perspective, I mean, but then again, I see him as favorably because, I like how he doesn't. He's one of those guys that doesn't make fun of flat earthers, and he came from an academic background. So for me, I was just like, nice, this is great.
Can you stick a link
but
in?
Again, this is not. Huh?
Can you give us a link? I'll stick it in the live chat, and people can go and subscribe to him.
Yep.
Me included.
Give me 1 minute.
No worries. Shout out again to Colin Turner. Sorry, whoever was about to talk.
Yeah, I was.
Nunes is the acceptable face of pseudoscience. I read that correctly. Nunes. He's talking about the same guy, right? Nunes is the acceptable face of pseudoscience.
I believe
right
so.
Now it's gone out the glare.
Rodrigo Nunes.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Maybe
I couldn't quite read what he was saying. Now it's gone out of the glare of my screen. I can read the sentiment as well. Nunes is the acceptable face of pseudoscience. That makes sense, Colin Taylor. Yes, thank you very much for the super chat.
Well, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Okay, I'm going to say this again. Where is the cowbell for Karl Popper? Somebody brought it up. Can somebody please put a little meat on the bone? Okay? In the next 30 minutes. For crying out loud, man.
So
guess not.
Right the hand from chat says, where is the cowbell? Yeah, I just started talking. So right the hand from chat says, where is the cowbell for double slit? Well, quantum principles, we talked about this on the last show. What the fuck?
Somebody's over talking you. Hold on.
My God.
It's new guy. I'll go ahead. You're good. I put him on mute.
Thank you.
Good.
So I tried to go through this on the last show. When we got to discussing applied sciences, scientific discovery will drive technological advancement. So you want cowbell? Yeah. A lot of your computing technology comes from the scientific discoveries in quantum mechanics. So there's plenty of cowbell for scientifically valid anything, because it's got validity, empiricism attached, and the double slit's no different. I don't really get your objection right the hand. But there we go. A lot of people air it. I might as well air yours.
So we're not going to get any more cow. Somebody brought up Karl Popper, right? Yeah. I know. I keep going. I'm sorry.
That Karl Popper cowbell. Anon, right? Are you there? You said you had heard of Karl Popper.
I'd never said the word Karl Popper.
No, it wasn't him. It was News Meltdown. His mic just melted down. So I don't think we're going to get any more from him. Do you want me to unmute him? Check it out. See if he fixed his mic.
Yeah, he just might have a temporary internet issue.
Okay.
No, I'm okay.
The link is
I'm trying to
pasted
figure
in
out what's
Master
going
B.
on because it's been a bit of a mess.
Oh, cool. Sorry, Ben.
He's talking now.
My bad, Ben. We were just doing a bit of admin for a link that I'm sharing, so I talked all over you. I'm really sorry.
No problem.
Go ahead, Ben. You brought up Karl Popper about 25 minutes ago after the Nunez Rodriguez, right? So we're back to Karl Popper, right?
It was before the Nunez Rodriguez. Okay, let's talk about Karl Popper, but I'm not in front of my computer, so I will have to tell you what I've learned while I was studying. I have no reference of cowbell, so can you just please explain in a simple question what you mean and what you want me to answer?
Yes. You said that Karl Popper was all that in a bag of chips. That means he did something really important. We want to know.
I've never talked about a bag of chips that I remember.
Okay, let me try. If I say Ford Fiesta's the car is great, and someone says give me some cowbell, I go, well, it's got exceptionally well engineered power steering, really good tires. That's the sort of thing he means by cowbell. An example, a demonstration, a quantification of how Karl Popper...
You know what? It's probably an analogy in English, but I don't understand it. So what's cowbell? Is that a brand?
No, it's
he's just basically saying give me some good things about Karl Popper.
That's why I was thinking about pharmacokinetics. You see, if you guys...
It's very funny. It's a translation, lost in translation. All John wants is for you to tell him something cool that Karl Popper did.
Something cool.
Hold on a second. I thought I explained this at first. Okay. You said Karl Popper, that he did something really important. He was an important guy. Give us some substance of what he actually did. How about that?
Well, he is the father of the concept of reproducibility and falsifiability.
What?
He's the one that set up that method, the method you just go babbling about every day. He set up that very method, and he's the one that expressed in many books and lectures the concept of falsifiability and repeatability.
Did I go babbling about? What do you mean I go babbling about?
And try to ask question in a bit more of an explicit way. My God, you are the most annoying person to talk to. By my mother.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, sir.
Mother-in-law.
I think
French mother-in-law is just
he's autistic. Don't mind him.
Come on, don't take you're a little weasel sometimes, and on take your chances with your jabs while they're coming from someone else.
I will. I'd take every chance to pummel that pseudo-scientific clown that he thinks he's some sort of quantum scientist.
That wasn't an open invite to carry on. Come on, let's get some control here.
I need some more ad homs.
We need some more cowbell. Where's the... I don't know who Karl Popper is, right? And I'm intrigued now. Who the hell is Karl Popper, and what's he done that's so important?
He's a philosopher from beginning of the century, and he's the one that defined the lines of scientific methodology. If you really want to have some depth in what you say, when you say what you say about scientific method, you must know Karl Popper. Just go and read it. It's a long set of conversations, essays, and so on, and it's very, very interesting. And it takes science from every side.
Hold on. Okay.
Jeez, oh man.
Yeah. So we've got he defined the scientific method.
He's the one that formalized the scientific method, and all its and and it's the
Constituent
method,
part.
the falsifiability, the background of it, the actual parameters in which everything had to be done in science.
Okay, what was it specifically that Karl Popper did to give it the falsifiability?
What was his specification? The fact that you need to be in systematic doubt and systematically being able to put whatever you do into doubt.
But that's not what gives the scientific method falsifiability. The null hypothesis is what gives it falsifiability.
In a more technical way, yes. It's the same thing.
But that would have been defined long before Karl Popper.
He's the one that I said, he's the one that formalized everything. He's one of the authorities of the last century, of all the philosophers.
I heard all this. Sorry, I've got to stop you. I'm really sorry, Ben. Yeah, I've heard all that. But so far, what we've got is he's the one that defined the method and gave it...
Yes, because I did that first year in my degree, you know, and I remember a great framework, a thought framework, which I stuck to, but I won't be able to give you a citation right now. I know that the concept of falsifiability and the concept of repeatability, the concept of keeping parameters or a model open to contradiction, and that's what made the systematic doubt and the fact that science is always progressing.
Oh my
Allegedly.
God! You could have said it in one sentence. You just damn.
Right. I'm going to shut you all up while I shout out Retro Bill, laughing so hard I nearly crashed my cowbell into a tree. Shout out to Retro Bill. Also shout out to Colin Turner. Popper popularized. Sorry. What's that word? Postulated. There we go. My bad with the glare. Popper postulated that a scientific theory is right only if it can be falsified. Scientific method precedes him.
Yeah, listen, we could have summarized it in 1 second. He just identified that pseudoscience could not be falsified, basically. So we had 30 minutes of this stuff, right? Just nonsense that could be summarized in a couple words.
So to summarize,
are you just saying Popper?
I don't know. I've actually got the bit I need.
Moron.
I just need that bit.
Without knowing. You're a moron. You're just a moron.
Oh my God, let's shut him up. So just to summarize, so what you're saying is Popper basically explained that you can't falsify something that doesn't have inherent falsifiability because of its non-adherence to the scientific method.
Explains because there is years of study about Popper that you can go before you can just easily explain Popper in a couple of words.
Three
and
to
he
4
declares
seconds.
asinine things like he just did.
I can't deal with him. I can't. Shut the hell up. So 30 minutes, right, of dancing around just friggin', it's just nonsense, right? You know he's a pretender clown. He could have said it in less than a sentence. That's all it is.
But now we're on to a new subject, which is you said that you would hand people who would present Popper their asses. Other than the demonstration that's just happened by way of not understanding what Popper actually did, what did you mean by that? Were there certain groups of people that use him for a certain end?
Yeah, they didn't know what he exactly did. They wouldn't say what I just said. They'd have different takes on it, right? So it was just so many people would bring, but Karl Popper, and I would just slam them because they didn't know exactly what he was talking about, what I just summarized. It's just that simple.
I see. Fair enough.
So basically what he's saying is you can't disprove arguments from ignorance, essentially, which is true. Now, how profound it is, I don't know about that. Friggin' third grader can come up with that.
Yeah, it's not that profound. I mean, it's almost obvious based on the stuff that we say here, isn't it?
Precisely. What the problem was, I think why Popper had to step in and put this out, because pseudoscience was replacing science. They were using theories that weren't actual theories. They were just calling them theories. So we've just come full circle with Mr. News Meltdown.
Amazing.
Do you want me to leave him off mute?
No, you can leave him off. He can be part of the conversation. We've only got maybe 10 minutes left to the live show.
Good.
Plus, it's an interesting conversation. I'd not heard of this Popper guy until now, and now I know his purpose in our conversation. If I'm ever going to reference him, the lack of falsifiability in pseudoscience is what he's useful for in reference terms, right?
Absolutely, that's what I'm trying to say. But the fact that they deride him and me immediately upstart, can I have the name of this person that keeps interrupting and being obnoxious?
What do you mean?
Who's that?
I've got to defend QE in this regard, right? 30 minutes.
QE, who's that?
Quantum Eraser.
Is that the guy that keeps interrupting him? Is that QE like what? QE?
Yeah, Quantum Eraser.
He's a quack.
Quantum Eraser. Okay, yeah, that's the guy that did the piss about Bob. Okay, fair enough.
That's the third time.
Okay.
I can't let that slide
explains
now.
a lot.
Hold on. That's the third time you've mentioned Bob. So who's Bob? What's the beef? What's going on?
Bob from Globebusters. So
Okay.
that's Quantum Eraser. Indeed, it's the same obnoxious person. I looked at the video. He was having a go at Bob because he was fed up of him repeating constantly, the scientific method, this, that, and the other, without any depth into epistemology. And that's the big problem. That's exactly what I wrote in a comment. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys several times now. You've got no epistemological background. Therefore, you are just using an antibiotic with everything.
Oh,
You
God,
have no
here we go.
discernment. And I am terribly sorry to say that the show is going down the drain because we are listening to same.
Shut up.
Yeah,
Okay,
I agree.
I'll let him go.
It's not going to change the
I'll let
facts.
him go. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish up. Get it all out. Share your pain.
No, my pain is that you have some audience and you have to be so obnoxious with everyone, and some people deserve it. But people that don't deserve it, people that are actually playing in the same game, is just moronic to play like that. Because basically what you're doing is you're kicking your own teammate to be the one that scores. And in the end, what happens is the whole team loses. So I think it's absolutely stupid to work on egos. And you need to understand that your knowledge is extremely limited. And you have showed it today, because to everything I've said, you've got nothing to answer but asinine derision. And that's the trick of people that don't know anything. Okay.
Total
Okay,
nonsense.
you done?
Well, I want to defend you, John. Karl Popper summary, I've now got a good handle on within about, 25 seconds of discussing it with you after endless diatribe from this guy. Now we're on to Bob being on hashtag same team. Well, unfortunately, Bob was doing the circuit, basically saying that what we describe here, which is set in stone, the method hasn't changed, it's always the same, it's been driving scientific discovery for quite some time, yet it's described by Bob at Globebusters as all that bullshit, which it isn't. So
Nathan,
that's got to be addressed.
Read Karl Popper, get some distance, get some perspective, and then we'll talk again in a month. Okay? I wish you guys a good day, good evening.
Okay. Without
morning,
reading
good
Karl
afternoon.
Popper, would you say that if I was to summarise that Karl Popper essentially detailed the lack of falsifiability in a non-adherence to the scientific method? Would that be an accurate summary of Popper?
That's an extremely boiled down reduction to a lot of thoughts around the scientific method and its result, what it has been doing, and so on. It's a very dairy one. That's why you've never heard of him, because it's been hidden, as much as people like Heaviside or people like Jeffy Menko, all those people you've never heard of, because they are the ones that did actually something around electricity. And Popper is one of those philosophers that wasn't pushed forward like Einstein, which stole everything in the patent office. They were hidden because he's saying very interesting stuff. I suggest you read. That's all I'm saying.
I don't
agree with you,
dispute
sir.
it. I'm not saying I won't. But all I'm trying to get through in this instance is that when you're saying, well, with literally zero knowledge of this person till 5 minutes ago, I've managed to parrot what John Quantum Eraser told me back to you, and you agree that that's a too boiled down summary of what he did. Well,
But because that's what you can read on Wikipedia. But you're going to have to agree with me.
You're missing my point. My point is that concise summary came from the person that you're charging with all sorts of nonsense.
No, it's not nonsense, Nathan. No, don't say that. Okay, go ahead.
Well, yeah, it is. Your charge in regard to Bob Nodell is unreasonable in regards to his claims against us directly. He is claiming that, to paraphrase what he said, if we don't put things through the scientific ringer and they don't fit through, then Strawman essentially says that we declare that as all nonsense if it doesn't fit through that ringer, much the same as you did, saying that that's not the only method. And we described, when put to task, to you, that no, it's not the only method. There are many other methods, that it's very narrow, that it only deals with cause and effect, etc., etc., etc. But that's not what we're being charged with by people like Bob Nodell. He's very specifically charging not only the method itself as being total bullshit, while simultaneously saying it's all fine and dandy, a contradiction in terms, but simultaneously saying that we automatically disregard anything that hasn't been through that method. Also not true. Now, should we just encourage that? Because hashtag same team? Or should we correct it based on presumably people like Karl Popper, who does understand the scientific method and has looked into it, understands it's empirical, and also, from what I understand from Quantum Eraser, understands that a non-adherence is not falsifiable. So all of these things are things that we talk about here.
I should be reading in between the lines of Cowbell, and then you don't read in between the lines that Bob, when he wrote what he wrote, was absolutely annoyed by the tone of voice of Quantum Eraser, which is an absolute killer. I mean, the guy, no matter how much right he would be, he would always have people against him because he's a fucking pain in the ass. I don't know how to tell you otherwise, you know?
He's autistic. He's got problems.
Don't take your chances, Simon. That might well be true from your personal perspective, or Bob's. I'm not clairvoyant, I can't speak for him. But I will say that the actual cowbell in this instance is absolutely 100% correct. If it's left unaddressed, we're left with an audience under the impression, at the words of Bob Nodell, that what we say here is essentially bullshit. And it is not. So I'm not going to allow that to be tolerated. I'm not going to shake hands with somebody that essentially pisses all over everything we do here, which is precisely what's being done. Now, I or Quantum Eraser haven't gone out and charged him with being a grocery delivery boy. We have attacked his scientific acumen based on a method which is set in stone and his lack of understanding thereof. Simple. You know, when we hear
the method is not set in stone,
when we hear
that's the problem.
Equivocation between how much somebody understands science and then immediately details that they've been looking into conspiracy for a very long time, that kind of nonsense frustrates me. And it also frustrates Quantum Eraser. The appeal to format is nonsense. It doesn't matter how it's presented in tone. The relevant information is regards to the subject matter at hand. And what is that subject matter? Well, the subject matter at hand is the physical and natural world. Not my former affiliation with a supermarket. That's not relevant. The tone in which we disseminate the physical and natural world, what's that again? Oh, science! That's not relevant. All that is relevant is whether or not you understand those principles, whether or not you have adhered to those principles, whether or not you declare those principles when you have a non-adherence. Like Popper's describing, the non-falsifiability of pseudoscience, right? Well, that is what we are discussing. We want to root out the pseudoscience pretender clowns who make declarations based on observation. They don't have empiricism, they don't have an adherence to science. And that's what we're being told by our opposition in this regard, Bob Nodell, is bullshit. No, it's empirical. So we're going to address that. Not his person, not ad hominem, not at the man, but at the issue at hand. And that is the physical and natural world that we live in. That's the primary subject that we're talking about. And when we have a method adhered to by few that is ignored or called bullshit, that has a method of empiricism part and parcel of it, we're going to call those people out when they call it bullshit. We'd be unreasonable if we didn't. You know, to just tolerate the very nature of what we're describing being completely crapped all over. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's live panel. Just stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, as there will be an after show to follow. If you are watching live on Nathan Oakley, then check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
The beginning of this debate, this argument between Nathan and Bob, and I don't know if you, how far did you hear Nathan go on Bob's show the very first time to explain why the gyroscope is not scientific? Very calmly. Do you remember that?
I remember my preamp broke, so I was in the middle of a spiel and I couldn't hear them saying, "Oh right, well what about blah blah blah," and I can't hear them, so I just carry on. And after I'd finished my pre-rehearsed bit, I looked, total silence, can't hear a damn thing, and I'm like, what the hell's going wrong? So I'm like looking over the computer, and then I noticed that the preamps just shut down. I'm like, oh shit! So I scrambled to get that on, and as soon as it came back on, I could hear them going, "Can you hear us? Can you hear us?" I'm like, oh god, did any of that get to the audience? Was it all worthwhile? Very stressful.
No, we got everything. I mean, I heard the whole thing. It's just I agree with you guys. Bob should have right there and then been like, "Holy shit, you're right. I misunderstood the process. I fell for the trick as well." Yeah.
Oh, issues with internet for Anon. I'm sure he'll be back momentarily. While he's gone, Chocolate. Looking forward to tonight. Day, as the case may be for you.
Yeah, sure. I don't mind. I feel kind of honored being on Iron Realm Media. That's pretty cool.
Mate, I'll be tuning in. I think you're ace.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, are we done with the therapy session?
Therapy session? What therapy session?
Yeah. Well, apparently there's some people that holding some hateful grudge against Quantum Eraser. Let's get it all out. Share your pain.
You know exactly how I feel about you. Anyway, so Nathan, I was gonna say after you came back and you trying to explain what happened, I took the soundbite and I put it over a song, and I pasted it in Master B. It's one of my favorites. Anyway, check it out.
Is the song copywritten?
No, I made it.
I mean, you made the notes.
I made the beat. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Where's that?
I pasted in Master B.
I've got Everland, and then I've got. I can't see it. Epicycles.
The streamable.
Rodrigo Ferrari Nunez. Oh, there we go. Streamable, free publishing video. Right, got it. That's what we are doing when we perform an experiment. And a hypothesis test is a scientific prediction. If you want to, you can interpret that word to mean what you say. That's what's happened.
But only if you're gonna do it in the context of scientific
Exactly,
method.
Arwin!
Right, so why couldn't you use the word experiment just in general? Just to test
I'm
something
not.
out and try it out?
I'm not. Am I?
Oh, no.
Well, why are you
Bob,
asking me?
Dick.
Ask Bob. Why are you using these words, Bob, when you haven't got the vaguest notion what they mean, Bob? Why is it that when you tell me you've done an experiment, a hypothesis test, and that science has proved the ether, why is it you can't tell me what an IV-DV relationship is? Why is it that you're trying to vary the bloody hypothesis live on air if you've already done an experiment? Why, Bob? Why? Why am I getting asked about what is needed to be done to produce an experiment when you've already claimed you've got one? Why is this not a hypothesis test if you're to claim that science proves the bloody ether? Well, let's see you prove it then. What's the hypothesis? Oh, I don't know about that bit. I've just got the magic word of experiment. Let's have a look at this guy and what he says about the Sagnac experiment. But it's not really an experiment, even though it's in bold capitalized type on screen. I'm now going to call it an observation. So we have very literally observation with explanation being used as proof. It's an absolute outrage. If anybody cuts me off again, I'm going to start kicking people. because I am furious about this, if I'm honest. I've listened to your opinions on it, and the fact remains, we have in our midst, in Flat Earth, practitioners of pseudoscience. They haven't got the vaguest clue how to formulate a hypothesis and ask me on the fly if it's acceptable to substitute the independent variable for the dependent variable. Well, if I'm not going to call the gyro the dependent variable, would it be okay, Nathan, if we call the star rotation the dependent variable? Why am I the person who's pointing out that this is pseudoscience, the one being asked how to formulate the hypothesis, when the experiment is a hypothesis test? So these pretender clown muppets are, in my view, no better than the pseudoscience pretender wiki parroting clowns who come on here and tell us Cavendish is science. Well, what's the IV and DV relationship? Oh, well, I don't know. I'll have a look. Oh, well, we've got more than one independent variable. We've got lots of them. Yeah, that's the kind of crap we get. From Bob, well, is it the star rotation or is it the gyro? Maybe you can tell me how we can make this experiment scientific. What the hell? You don't start with an experiment and then try and make it scientific. You start with the observation of a bloody phenomena, and then you try and explain what's causing it. If you're going to use scientific vernacular, not decide that you've got an experiment on your hands and then work backwards. That's what Globebusters are doing. And then going, oh, well, no, we'll just call it an observation then. So what? Observation and declaration? How fucking dare you, Bob, you pretender clown muppet? You think you can observe something and then declare that we've got ether? How dare you, pretender clown, pseudoscience, pretender clown, wiki parroting muppet? You've got no science and no clue how to even formulate a hypothesis, yet you're telling your audience that you've done experiments. Well, good for you. Net result of your fuckwittery is that you've got the entire ball community claiming you've proven the bloody earth spins with science. And you want to defend to me that you can continue to assert this garbage. So, that's the bit that I would have done if I hadn't dropped on Globebusters in front of about 1,000 live viewers instead of my pittance of 322 people watching. Wow.
Woo!
Cool. Wow, I didn't know you made that. But you believe in the ether.
I do.
Why would you promote
I
that?
do. Because I agree with 75% of what you said, but I still believe in I do think that Sagnac is important. And I do think Michelson-Morley actually proved. Sagnac actually proved the ether. Well, didn't prove it, but it makes more sense than what Einstein was trying to do to abolish the ether because of the pesky little experiment. I mean, this is explained by in detail by Jeranism. It's just it's explained thoroughly, and I fully grasp it. So that's not the point. But the point was that it's not necessarily an experimentation. You cannot vary and manipulate the ether to see if when you spin the table, if it changes the shift. So you can't really show causation, but there's obviously something there because that's where the light wave, not a wave probability, but wave goes through. But I don't want to get involved with this. I really don't. It's just it's like arguing with Baller. I just can't.
Don't start the ad homs because Anon, while you're explaining your position, I can hear the cogs of cognitive dissonance turning. You know it, and I know it.
No, I know that you need it. It's a wave. I know light is not a particle.
Really?
That's 100%. Yep.
Not
the
a
particle
wave.
is the points between when the waves interact. You see a high intensity, and you can count that as a particle. But again, it's a wave. All of them, all the EMR, electromagnetic radiation, from radio to gamma.
Here we go again.
No, it's okay. That's where we left off last time. So my question to you last time was, where does that description come from? Where's that derived from?
What description?
You described all of the different wavelengths, didn't you?
Sure. Then I
Right,
guess
so
you
they
can say
so they go through all the
scientific
different wavelengths depending on what light you're dealing with and what light you're assessing, and the quantification is given with a number and described as a wavelength, correct?
Correct.
Where does that come from?
I mean, you can measure it using oscilloscopes.
No, that's not what I mean. Where's that concept been derived from? How have they come up with those numbers?
You're gonna say probability probability distribution.
Am I?
Yeah, you are.
And how do you know that I'm going to say that?
Because I have a memory, and we already had this discussion.
So you're only going on what I've told you so far, which you disagree with fundamentally. So why don't you... I'm not going to tell you, but hopefully for next time, I'm not going to hold you to task. I'm in a good mood, right? But for next time, just look into, or alternatively, just check out the QE video where in about 4 minutes, maybe 3.5 minutes, he tells you quite directly with references where it comes from in the presentation you said you watched.
Was the presentation to me, or was it just a different presentation?
Yeah, it's just the original that was discussed on Ballbusters. So for that particular presentation, because it was quite complex, I played out section by section, and then we discussed it with both the audience and the team on Ballbusters. But the more limited version is in the info box below both this video that's being recorded now for the benefit of the audience, and below each live stream. So it's just called, I think it's just called Quantum Eraser, Science versus Scientism. That's the actual presentation. But in that presentation, the derivatives, how it's been formulated, where you get those quantifications mathematically of the different waves, in quotes, where that comes from. And you're right, but I just don't want to lead you any more other than you just going and finding out for yourself, because in that moment you'll go, shit. And I hope you'll come back and go, okay, yeah, I understand now how it can't possibly be a wave by virtue of how they've come to that description in the first instance. But you might not, might still fight it, we'll see.
I will watch that. It's I have a weekend. I can have some time, I guess. But the thing is, I'm not going by that to determine that there's a wave. All I'm going by to understand that light is a wave is having a 599 laser and a piece of electric tape. When I create a double quote unquote split experiment, quote unquote experiment with my laser pen, and I shine a laser light through tiny slits, 2 slits between.
Oh God, here we go again.
Electric tapes. Yes, here we go again. Just hold on. Let me finish. On the wall, on my kitchen wall, I literally see the interference pattern that would only be caused by 2 waves going through 2 different holes. I don't get 2 slits.
Oh, really?
I get multiple slits, so I see the wave on my wall.
I hear, we heard. So, just quick question.
There you go.
Quick question. Have you ever tried it with 1 slit? Or split?
Well, yeah, that's just the regular light. If I don't have a slit, it's just 1 light.
Really?
It just comes out.
So you think that the first time they did this, they put 2 slits in?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Look up single slit diffraction. See where you go from there.
I'll take a look.
Cool. Hopefully.
All right. Well, I have a final one on this. Let's just take a look at this. So Anon says the last time that it's the ether waving in the double slit experiment producing the wave pattern. Okay. So what happens when you have the path information and the diffraction pattern disappears? Does the ether take a vacation? Checkmate.
No.
Thanks for your ear.
It's just like
Have a
saying,
nice day.
if you go in the water, if you go in a swimming pool and splash about, you see the waves. And if you stop splashing about, you stop seeing the wave. Does the water go away?
Hold on.
No.
We did this last time. I don't want to go in circles. Remember me splashing the water and me proving that medium's real?
Yep.
Right. That's the end of that argument.
Same with so you're gonna say oxygen doesn't exist because you can't splash. You can't make a sound of oxygen.
Oxygen now. What happened to your example with a vacuum where you suck that shit out?
No, that's different. I'm talking about you saying just because you can't hear a fake noise of water doesn't mean that water exists or whatever. So
Yeah,
same
but you
thing
can-
with this. Just
but you
because you
can-
don't see it,
yes,
doesn't mean
okay,
you
okay,
can't feel it.
okay. But you can practically demonstrate the existence of oxygen now, can't you?
You can do the same thing with a light. All
With
you have to do is shine a light through a vacuum bulb.
not light, ether.
Yeah, light is a disturbance, a compression and rarefaction in the ether.
Yeah, I know your presupposition.
I just pummeled that.
I know.
Do you want me to say it
didn't.
again?
He didn't listen.
I know
No,
I
I
did.
did. If you stop splashing your hands in the pool, the wave will stop.
I mean, this is severe cognitive dissonance, man.
Try once more. Try
Sure.
not to interrupt this time, Anon.
Okay, so Anon said that it's the ether waving in the double-slit experiment producing the wave pattern. So, following that logic, what happens when you have the path information and the diffraction pattern disappears? Does the ether take a vacation then?
I have never ever had it where I'm shining the light
Oh,
through
here
two
we go.
slits on my wall, getting a
You're not
pattern
dealing
of
with the actual
diffraction, and
argument.
then
No worries.
I'm observing it. I am the observer, but
No
I still
worries.
see the wave pattern.
Right, that's your misapprehensions about how the double slit experiment works. So you think observing it is what causes wave function collapse? Is that what you think?
That's what they say, no?
No,
No, they
What
don't.
do they say?
absolutely not.
What do they say? Tell me, enlighten me.
They say that
Don't
knowledge
they
of the
say
witch
it's knowing the witch path? Isn't that what it is, though?
Whatever the hell witch path is.
Ah,
I'll
you don't
give you a
know
witch
what.
path.
There you
Witchcraft,
go.
that's what it is.
So you're going to keep
Wizardry,
talking.
witchcraft.
So you're
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
keep talking. So you've declared you don't know something and carried on talking. Shock horror. So, witch path.
Oh, I get it.
What do you think witch path? What does that mean?
Which path? This path,
Right.
path A or path B?
Ah,
Which slit? This slit or that slit?
Ah, so you have the knowledge of which slit it went through. And do you have that knowledge by simply looking at it?
No, it's going through both slits. It's basically like
sorry.
it's basically if you have two. Hold on, if you have three poles in water.
You're the one who doesn't
and then you
understand this. And you're
if
telling
you
me.
wave the water
Sorry,
on one
Anon,
side,
this is what
the water
ignorant people
wave
do.
goes through
Anon,
both
Exactly.
this is
you
what is
got it.
getting irritating, Anon. You don't understand this. Yet you're the one babbling more than me, who does understand it. So that's annoying. We get that you don't understand. I'm trying to explain that in order to have the knowledge of which path, now listen up closely, each particle of light went through, then you'd need slit detectors so that you have knowledge of which path it went through.
Tell me about these slit
Oh
detectors.
my god.
No, serious.
Oh my god, means
Serious,
shut
this is-
the fuck up.
Okay, now you're getting mad.
Yeah,
I
because
told
you
that's
keep
why I didn't
fucking
wanna,
talking.
I don't want to talk about
Yeah,
ether here,
you,
man.
the
It's just
dumb
like-
fuck here who annoys the shit out of me when you do this. We know you don't fucking understand, but you're talking. Why not shut the fuck up and listen to somebody who does understand? That'd be me. Instead of talking all over me. What's your malfunction?
Tell me more about these slit detectors.
Yeah, I'd try if you didn't talk incessantly over the top of me.
Unbelievable, man.
So the whole purpose of the double slit, Anon, is to establish which slit, the which path information, the particle of light has travelled through. That is the purpose. You are describing diffraction, also achievable through a single slit. In fact, it was what was described to you by QE in the history of experimentation on light. Single slit diffraction, part of the journey, not observation of double slit collapse upon knowing which path the particle of light travelled through. upon knowing the information of which path, you facilitate wave function, not wave, collapse into the two lines that you observe upon knowing which path the particle of light went through. I'm done.
I've never seen two lights, two strips. It's always a diffraction pattern. It's never just two. And first of all, number two, what packet of light? We've never got to that. Number three, what are these detectors? None of this, all of this is conjured up within the experiment of something I've learned from you, Dad.
Okay, no worries. Let me ask you a question. While you describe it as being conjured, what is a slit detector? Something you've just declared is conjured. What is a slit detector?
It's a detector that you put next to the slit to determine the quote-unquote photon, if it's going through this slit or the other slit.
Okay.
Wizardry.
Okay. And in the double-slit quantum eraser, how many are there?
The delayed choice one?
How many slit detectors are in that experiment?
Well, just this double slit? Just the double slit, or are you talking about the delayed choice quantum? Because that's a completely different thing.
The delayed choice quantum eraser.
There are no slit detectors. in the
Don't tell
quantum
him.
eraser. My bad.
So you're just saying things that don't exist? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm basically crapping all over your notion of hokum with slit detectors by pointing out that the quantum eraser doesn't have any. Silence.
Sorry, my wife was yelling at me. I left something on. Say that again.
The conclusion's been made for the audience's benefit. Hopefully you'll look up the things I've asked you to.
No worries.
His question was, 1 second, how many slit detectors are in the delayed choice quantum eraser experiment?
You tell me. You're the quantum eraser guy.
0! That's how many.
Then what the fuck is it? What the hell are you guys blabbing about split detectors? Or slit
You are,
detectors?
not me. I would took you one step back.
I brought up slit detectors?
Yeah, I brought up slit detectors to describe a path of discovery for light applicable with an adherence to the scientific method. In that instance, you have wave function, not wave, collapse upon positioning slit detectors. Now, upon finding this information out, having declared that you don't see wave function collapse when you observe light travelling through a piece of electrical tape with two slits in it, yeah, which is what you've declared, I'll hold back on that particular point, but say that in that instance, slit detectors were explained to you to give you the knowledge of the which path, again, something you didn't understand. You then decried slit detectors as hokum and said it was being created, the phenomena was being created in the test. A objection from, 90 years ago, addressed in the double-slit quantum eraser experiment with a delayed choice. So, it doesn't have any slit detectors directly addressing the hokum that was addressed by many other people many, many years ago.
You guys sound like blowers talking about gravity. Seriously.
No, we're talking. You don't even understand the principles that we're talking about, yet you're more than happy to shit on it. Like most people who don't understand what we're talking about.
But that exact same thing can be said about you guys and us, me, about relativity. Same thing can be said here.
No,
what
it can't.
are you talking about?
No,
How do you
it
not
can't.
see the double standard here?
It's just
You
ignorance.
want to test our relativity knowledge? No worries.
You're just ignorant. That's all.
All right, cool.
Look, when these things happen, right, there's one thing that I've learnt here, Anon, is that everybody's capable of being ignorant. And the more you appreciate just how ignorant you are, the better you generally get on. And when you can't, the conversation we had with me, with my blood vessels bursting, is a direct consequence of that. Because essentially, it's in the face of your ignorance that I get frustrated. Now, me, I'd rather be a bit humble. If I don't understand something, I'm more than happy to put my hands up and go, I just don't understand this. You're halfway there, which is why I tolerate this kind of crap from you. You know, because most of the time, when you're describing something that's a direct contradiction of something else you've just detailed, you can hear the cogs turning, and that's not to say that in a negative way. In other words, you're verbalizing cognitive dissonance and your progression through it, which is a beautiful thing to observe. It doesn't change the fact that you're really annoying when you talk all over an explanation for something that you don't understand. Just try and listen instead. My rant's over. I'm sorry to have a go in such an overt manner.
I never want to bring up quantum race or any of that ever because
why? It's cool as frig, man.
It's
cool.
See, you don't even let me talk.
It's just because I'm exasperated because I've given up space.
Let's
We've
not
all given
bring
up
it up.
space.
I will not bring up quantum mechanics ever again on this fucking.
You don't have
as
to.
long as
I
you
will.
guys don't bring it up with me. I
Fine,
will.
it's cool, but I'm saying I like it because it's cool. What we left with after the bullshit that we lose, all the sci-fi was intrinsically linked to the bullshit narrative of heliocentrism, which just turned out to be false. So what cool shit do we have to latch onto? Well, in a world of nonsense, suddenly the truth becomes a lot more appealing. And when you've actually got something that's got validity, empiricism attached to it, and someone comes along and goes, well, a load of crap, it's just a load of bunkum, it's inherent in the test, like with Cavendish. You go, no, it isn't. I know it isn't because I understand it. And understanding something that's as cool as frig and has driven a lot of technological advancements. We've got right the hand in the chat. Oh, right, do you say that computers prove quantum mechanics? It's like you putting the cart before the horse. No, quantum mechanics has driven applied sciences in terms of the technology that we use. It's not the other way round. It's not a proof of quantum mechanics. But people who don't understand it will say things like that, and it just frustrates me.
Yeah, the computer technology and all the advanced technology is derived from the experimental validation of quantum mechanics.
Sure.
That's it.
Precisely.
Okay. Cool story.
That's it. You know, it's a good subject, is my point, Anon. And in having these conversations with you, a greater understanding is disseminated to the people who are listening. So, on the one hand, I'm eternally grateful. On the other hand, I could slap you.
I hear you. You can let the people decide which one of us is, BSing. That's fine.
Yeah, that's an easy choice.
Yep, sure. You can laugh. It's okay.
Well, to quote QE, this isn't an agree-disagree situation.
No, it is.
Not with
for me,
you've got empiricism on your side.
For me, it is. I choose to agree to disagree with you guys.
Okay, well, that's fine. But on my side,
it's the same people that gave you relativity. Hold on.
Same people that gave you relativity. We're tired of your monologues.
The heliocentric model are the same people who gave you quantum mechanics.
Opposite of quantum mechanics.
That's why come on my show sometime, Anon.
That's why Einstein tried to debunk quantum mechanics. They're incompatible. They're married bachelors, relativity and quantum mechanics. You just display your ignorance every time you open your mouth, son.
I'm not your son.
Okay, before this descends, right, all I'm saying is on our side of the argument, we have empiricism, demonstrable, repeatable empiricism. That's pretty strong. Your I agree to disagree isn't. Sorry.
Okay.
Come on my show. I'm serious.
Shout out to Flat Earth Early Bird.
I'd love to discuss it with you one-on-one. Because
Fine,
I have my doubts and questions concerning or surrounding quantum mechanics as well. Although I do
wizardry. It's all the same thing.
Understanding. So
I'll do that.
Cool.
Let's hear him, Arwin.
What?
Share your pain.
You took the words out of my mouth. What? Share your pain.
No,
Did you have your doubts?
No, look, it's still in the very early stages. I just have suspicions. I already laid out the patterns that I've recognized. And my suspicion of presuppositional reasoning due to mathematical, technical impossibilities getting drawn into the conceptualization of it. And all of that. So, yeah.
Conceptualization
I'd
of
just
what?
like to talk about it.
No, but conceptualization of what?
Somebody in the background just said it sounded a lot like bollocks.
That wasn't me. No, Arwin knows a lot more than he lets on, and I do actually want to hear what he's got to say. Sorry. I'm intrigued to know what your doubts are, Arwin.
Then I let on. Am I sounding that stupid, really? No.
No, you're not stupid. No.
What I mean by that is, you know, you're not to be underestimated, but you do play your cards close to your chest, if that's a better phraseology.
I always do. Anyway, but one of my doubts, for example, is the conclusion that two particles of some kind could be at two different locations at the same time, technically, and that's supposedly proven. And that's just that it seems typically like a mathematical prediction-based idea, and it doesn't make any sense in reality.
You mean entanglement?
Hold on, isn't there
That's what you mean?
actual demonstrations of that being the case?
Oh, really? How?
Yeah, entanglement. Yeah, non-locality. That's what he's talking about.
That's what the word I was going to use, non-locality. No?
I've never seen that demonstrated, and I was really interested.
Quite cool, because it's a big problem for Einsteinian reification.
Yeah, that's not really a good gauge, because everything that is real.
No, that's not the gauge I'm using. That's not my sales pitch. I'm just saying it's an interesting side note in this debate. That's all I'm saying. I'm not using that as my pitch for non-locality. Like I say, I'm going to tempt fate here and say it's experimentally validated. Am I correct?
You are correct.
I thought so.
Oh, really? I'd love to see.
Yeah, it's the basis of computer technology security systems now. Yeah, because they can. It's really cool. Quantum cryptography.
That's a mouthful.
You can tell whether somebody's listening in on your conversation immediately.
Quantum cryptography. Wow, that's a mouthful.
Okay, that sounds like man-made stuff to me. But
it is. This is the applied technology. I've said this loads of times.
When you say cryptography.
How do you know if this is valid? Well, does Cavendish has it given rise to any technological advancement whatsoever?
Yes.
Go on, name one.
Yes, it has. More people are making balls.
Okay, yeah, well-made point. So, typically speaking, when you actually have scientific discovery, it will drive technology. You'll see, not immediately, obviously, but you will see the application of said scientific discovery in useful things that benefit humanity. On the other hand, if you have pseudoscience Cavendish balls asserting a point for some rhetoric or some model that needs reifying, they don't drive anything.
This was a big hubbubaloo back in the day, man, between Einstein and Bohr. This was big stuff, and a lot of people thought that it would never be resolved until John Bell. If you ever heard of Bell's inequality, right? This is big stuff in physics, man. You need to go back and look at this stuff.
John's cowbell?
Yeah, John's cowbell, good one. Yeah,
that's exactly what this is. John's cowbell. Yeah.
Whoa.
Ding ding. Yeah, it's a fascinating subject, and it is extremely cool when you see the applied technology that's come off the back of this experiment. So it's as cool as it gets as far as I'm concerned. And having given up stuff that was bullshit cool, space, I had a yearning to find the next thing that's like astonishing and cool. And even just talking about it right now gives me goosebumps. This is the cutting edge of life in general. If you want to understand what real science is doing and where it's driving humanity, this is where you look. Yeah? What we're left with and what we argue about is the dull old bullshit that's been totally superseded by modern understanding and modern science. And that's really what we're dealing with here. Which is why I suspect that this is an inevitability. The whole flat earth thing, well, the whole principle of Einsteinian world mechanics is rooted in heliocentric belief. Well, we've moved past that with with the quantum understanding that we have in the modern age. So that shit's got to die, and we're a part of that. You're either on the bleeding edge of it or you're not. If you're fighting against it because you're saying it's pseudoscience, you're wrong. You're either on board with what is scientifically and empirically valid or you're not. That's the way I see it, and I'm glad to be behind something that's actually empirically valid as opposed to complete bullshit that we've been fed for most of our bloody lives.
And that's the problem. Remember, I was talking about that before. People fallaciously indict quantum mechanics, chemistry, biochemistry because of the pseudoscience pretender clowns that think they're in the same group. Paleontology, archaeology, anthropology, geology. Everyone knows that these are clowns, but they put them all under the umbrella of science and then try to take quantum mechanics out to the woodshed. That's a big mistake. I've been teaching on that for like 3.5 years now. And when you do it, you're going to run into a flamethrower. Just to let you know. Thanks.
And with that, I'm going to say another huge, enormous, massive thank you to all of the audience in the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream for smashing the super chat, hopefully liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum, which you should definitely all join. Another huge thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this live and after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!